for the recording to start. Okay, welcome back everyone to our second lecture. And can you hear me okay? Everything all right? Okay. Good. So we were just talking about why conflicts happen. And very basic thing is that men and women are different. And we saw two areas that men and women are different. One is in how we solve problems. Second is in how we think about things. Again, these are generalizations. Generally, that's how it happens. And also, number three is in our memory. Women have or recall memories that have strong emotional components. So when they recall events, when they recall experiences, they're also in many ways reliving those emotions, and they connect events and experiences along with similar emotions. For men, it's more of recalling events that in terms of task or activity. Okay, I did this and I did this and I did this and I finished the work. So it's not, there's not too much connection with how did I feel when I was doing the work or what were other people feeling. No, I did this, I finished the task. So we are, even our memory and how we recall things is very different from how men recall things, very different from how women recall things. There's a lot of emotional components to the memories that women would have. And number four, in terms of what is each one sensitive to? So for women, they are looking at building meaningful relationships, how through communication, the sharing of thought, perspective, and emotion. So connection happens through communication for women, communication, discussion, and emotion. That's how connection is happening. For men, it's more of doing things together, activities that we do together. We are forging connections, we are forging relationships. So in one sense, that the connections, relationships are built around shared activities. For women, it's built around shared emotions and communications and discussions, perspectives. So what women and men are really sensitive to is also very different in order to build meaningful relationships. So these are just some general differences. And like this, we can think about, generally speaking, these are, differences between men and women, but we also recognize that, number five, that every individual is also different. So yes, we've said some general things, but the husband, the wife, they also have their own personal differences, which could have been shaped by the way they were brought up, by the environments in which they came, things that they went through in life, their experiences, and things that they may have developed themselves. So these all add to the difference. So why are there disagreements? Not because one is bad or the other is better, but because we are different, right? And so when there is a disagreement, when there is a conflict of opinion or a conflict of understanding, we should learn how to resolve it and use those opportunities to better understand each other rather than to push ourselves apart. Right? So that's the key. And the Bible teaches us that in 1 Peter 3 and verse 7, it says, husbands, live with your wives with the proper understanding, right? So make the effort to understand that they are more delicate. You treat them with respect and recognize that you're together in God's gift of life, and you're together in everything God has given you. And he says, do this so that it will not hinder your prayers. That means if conflict begins to happen in the marriage, it's going to affect the relationship with God. Learning to resolve conflicts and not allowing conflicts to become something that's going to hinder our spiritual life and hinder our prayer together. Right? So we need to understand this. Now, also conflicts can happen in marriage due to other reasons. Sometimes it could be interference by other people. It could be because of financial matters, wrong behavior patterns, neglect of responsibilities, and so on. And those are serious matters that need to be addressed. And it will be good to try to get some help, either from a counselor, somebody who's independent, and go for some counseling, get somebody to speak and give good input to resolve those matters. So if finances are a problem, go sit down with an accountant, a chartered accountant, or a financial advisor, and try to sort out finances, and so on. So there could be definitely other reasons why finances have problems happening, conflicts happening, and these have to be addressed. Now, what happens when there is conflict? It is possible, if conflicts are not handled properly, it could lead to offense, hurt, and anger or bitterness, right? So if conflicts are not handled and it becomes like a fight, then somebody is going to get offended. Somebody is going to get hurt. And that's going to lead to even more anger, even more bitterness. And if that is not resolved, it can just keep on escalating and it can get really, really, really difficult. Right? So it is so important to address this and learn how to resolve conflicts. And what we are going to do is to learn how to resolve, just give an outline using scripture. Here's a biblical way to approach resolving conflicts. Right? Now, before we do that, we must understand that while anger is a common emotion, that means we all feel angry, and it's normal. That's what helps us respond to situations. So it's normal to feel angry. It's part of our emotion. But how we respond, how we allow anger to be expressed must be done right. So we cannot, in our emotion of feeling angry, we don't want to say things that are wrong and do things that are wrong. Later on, we'll regret it. Right? So anger, which is something we all feel, must be controlled. It must be expressed. It must be released in a proper way, and we'll discuss that. But look at many of these scriptures are taken from Proverbs that talk to us about anger and what happens if we don't manage or channel our anger properly. Proverbs 14:17 says, with a hot temper, you end up doing foolish things. Proverbs 15:18, hot temper causes arguments. Proverbs 29:22, quick tempers cause a lot of quarreling and trouble. Ephesians 4:26-27 tells us, if you become angry, don't let your anger lead you into sin. Don't stay angry all day. Right? And it's connected to don't give the devil a chance, because the anger and what we do because of it could become an open door for the devil to come in and cause problems. So we have to learn how to express anger or control our anger and release it in the right way. James 1:19-20 says, be slow to speak and slow to become angry. Human anger does not achieve God's righteous purpose. In other words, when we are angry, we don't do what's right in the sight of God. So we have to be careful. Right? And in relationships, how do we express our anger? So this question is, of course, would be relevant only, it would be more appropriate in a married situation, but you could look at it for yourself, even if you're single, and think generally in terms of, how you interact with people, basically to see how you deal with anger. When you feel angry, how do you express it, right? So, and if you're, for those of you who are single, you think about it in general terms and how you're relating with people. What do you do when you get angry? While this is, this table is meant for a married couple. So please take some time just to do this on your own, later today, just to go through this, to see how you generally handle anger. Right? It's a useful question. So the reality is that there could be some root issues for anger that need to be addressed, right? Which we are not getting into in this course necessarily. We have a separate course on inner wholeness, where we deal with that in depth. But what I need to say is, there is emotion. There's the emotion of anger, which we all feel, which is common. But in some people's cases, the root for that emotion of anger is much deeper. It could come out, I'm just giving examples, it could come out from some other root issue. But it's being expressed like this in anger in a relationship, or the person is very angry. But the root issue is something else. They're angry, really angry because of something else. Example. A person, in a marriage relationship, or in general, the relationships with people, if deep inside them they feel unworthy, unfit, they feel that everybody is trying to put them down. And the reason they feel that way is maybe, sometime when they were growing up, or at some point in their journey. It doesn't always have to be only when they were children, but it could have happened another time. Somewhere along their journey, something happened which they got the idea that everybody's trying to put them down. So from that point, if anyone says anything or anybody does anything that seemingly indicates they're trying to put them down, they will burst out like a volcano. Right? So that's their root issue. And what is the trigger? If anybody gives a sense that they're trying to put them down, they will get angry. So think about a situation where they have expressed an idea, but somebody, the husband or the wife, is countering that idea by just saying, "Hey, maybe you should look at it like this." So let's say the husband has a problem like this. He gives us an idea, and then the wife says, "But maybe you should look at it like this." The wife is very innocently just saying, "Look, there's another perspective to it." But For the husband, it feels like the wife is putting him down. And it's going back to this root issue that, hey, anybody tries to put me down, I will not handle it. I will not tolerate it. And so it bursts out. And the root issue is something that happened maybe some years ago when they just felt that nobody can put me down, or if anybody tries to put me down, I will not tolerate it. And it's showing up in the marriage relationship like this. So the root is, so in this particular case, we have to deal with the root issue, have the husband understand that, hey, nobody's trying to put you down. You need to build your own confidence. You need to you need to be free in your spirit, that you are who you are and you will become what God wants you to become. Nobody's there to put you down. God is on your side. To release this person from that negative thought or idea that people are trying to put them down. So I'm just giving an example where the root issue for anger could be deeper than just the normal emotion that which we all feel. And if that's the case, we really need to deal with what is the underlying issue, right? Now, when we are angry, which every one of us feels, like I said, it's important, and when there is a disagreement or a conflict, it's important to just press the pause button to say that, okay, let's get back to this. Let's just pause here. Both of us calm down. Both of us cool down. Both of us be in a place where we can think about this. And then come back together and talk about it peacefully, right? So something has happened, things have escalated, people, one or both have become angry, husband or wife have become angry. Okay, pause here. Let's cool. Don't say, okay, let's pause here and then go away and not address the matter, right? Because now what's happened is there was a problem, there was a disagreement. You paused, but you didn't address the problem. So it's going to pile up. Then another situation will pile up. Another situation. No, you've got like 3 or 4 things to address, right? So it is better, rather than suppressing unresolved issues, it's better to address those issues, because if we are just avoiding the issue, the husband and wife only drifting apart. They are just going further away because they're afraid to get close enough to talk, drift apart, right? So avoiding the problem. Come back and discuss it, which we will talk how to do that. Another important thing is to stay away from unhelpful responses to conflict. So when there is disagreement, when there is conflict, here are some things to avoid. Avoid being aggressive, shouting, doing these violent things. Just avoid being aggressive. Avoid bottling feelings up. That means you just put it in, don't say anything, but it's actually inside you. You're feeling bad. It's bottled up. Avoid indirect approaches. You say everything is fine, but you try to get back through some other way. That's an indirect approach. Avoid seeking external validation. So if your problem is with your spouse, but you go and start talking to somebody else who's, just supporting you, but you're not really resolving the problem with your spouse. So then that's not helping at all. It's good to get support. It's good to get help, but you have to come back and resolve the problem, right? So just going outside, talking to other people, but not coming back and resolving the problem is not a good thing. Be willing to forgive, and don't use silent treatment. That is, you just stop talking and never talk again, or just talk very little bit. Now, those are not good ways to react to conflicts and disagreements, right? So avoid these things. But we must learn to engage in a mature way. That means as godly people, we recognize that there are differences. There may be a different disagreement. There might be a conflict. We recognize that. And emotions may have become charged. But let's handle this in a mature way. Let's not, call names, put people down. Let's not blame each other. But let's stay in the present and let's address the matter. Okay? And when there is conflict, it's always good if you're not able to handle it between the two of you, to get help from a counselor. Go, well, maybe it's a pastor or a counselor. You go talk to them and see if they can help you build a better understanding so that you can resolve conflict. Okay. Now, generally, here's the 7 steps that we help people to walk through in order to resolve conflict. So there's a disagreement. It's become, an emotional thing now. Both people are angry or upset, or something's happened. Okay, how are we going to resolve this conflict? Pause, and then do these 7 steps. Right. So take some time apart. Number 1 is to pray. Right. Okay, pause. We've got into a little argument. We've got a disagreement. We know there's a conflict. Stop. Because maybe angry, emotion, all of that. Okay, stop. We'll come back to this later. Maybe later in the day, maybe the next day. Between that time, what do? Both go and pray. I talk to God about it. Lord, we've had a disagreement. God, we've, separately are praying. God, he's thinking like this, and I'm thinking like this. We had an argument about such and such thing. Of course, God knows about it. But when we pray, we're going to prepare our heart to hear from God, and for God to deal with our emotions, for God to deal with us, right? And each of these things are explained, here in the script, along with scriptures, which we will go through, right? So you go before God, and you talk to God about it. You confess. You ask Him to deal with your heart, right? God, what am I not seeing? How does my heart need to change about this matter, right? So start talking to God. Invite Him to deal with your heart. Second, receive God's love, empowering to love and forgive. So God, I know he said all this to me, or she said all this to me, but I want to walk in love. Help me to do this. Help me to forgive. So when there has been a disagreement, when there's been an argument, and maybe some words have been exchanged, some things have happened, we need to forgive. And we still need to love. And only God can help us do that. So you're going to the right source in prayer. You're saying, God, deal with my heart. Second, God, give me the power to love and to forgive. Right? So you're asking God for the strength to deal with this situation from your heart, starting with your own heart. Right? And we understand, the love of God at work in us. Thirdly is to ask God for wisdom. Okay, God, so what do I need to do? Right? I need wisdom in this. Maybe I'm wrong. I need to change how I'm thinking. Maybe what my wife says is much better, but I need to change, right? I need wisdom. Or maybe what my wife's saying is not right, but how do I communicate it? Or maybe both of us are right. How do we bring this together, right? So the thing is, God, I need wisdom. And how do I handle this? How do I address this matter? So both husband and wife are praying and seeking God for wisdom. And that is where God will speak to both hearts. God will speak to both of us and say, okay, you need to change like this. You need to change like this. Or you need to handle it like this, right? So that is so important, to receive the wisdom of God and pray, and God will speak. And remember that when God gives wisdom, it removes jealousy. It removes James 3:14-18. it removes jealousy and selfishness, and it protects, it keeps the door closed to every kind of evil, right? So the wisdom that comes from above, that's what we want. Right? The wisdom of this world is unspiritual, it's demonic, but we want the wisdom that comes from God, which is peaceful, which is gentle, which is friendly, which is full of compassion, good deeds, and it's free from prejudice and hypocrisy. We want that wisdom, and that's what's going to produce peace. Right? So we need that wisdom from God, which will result in peace. Right? So we're praying for that and asking God, and He will give it to us. He'll show us what to do. Right? So then, having understood, have the conversation again. Step 4, let's sit together and discuss. Right? So you're not avoiding the problem. You've taken some time apart, maybe the rest of the day, the next day, 2 days, praying, seeking God. Then let's talk about this. Let's see, this is what happened. So what do we need to do? How do we solve this? How are we going to resolve this matter? You discuss it. Right? So this can happen, either both of you can sit and talk, or if you're going for counseling, in front of the counselor. So the counselor is there like a mediator to make sure that you can have this conversation, you can discuss this. Having prayed about it, having sought God's mind about it, you can do this, and especially in the early stages, if there's a very difficult problem, it's good to have a counselor and, to help somebody mediate, to help somebody, in this conversation, in this discussion, to have somebody help you go through this. And later on, you will be able to do it by yourself, right? So you need to have this. And as you're sharing your thought, there is no judging, criticizing, attacking, retaliating. No, we are here to share your thoughts and try to come at a solution, arrive at a decision that's good, right? So here are some steps that we go through. What is the specific issue that you want to resolve? Is it really important that you need to talk about it? Okay. And then decide a time when you can sit and talk about it, a good time, and you can pay attention to it. Get your mind focused on that, and then start the discussion in a positive way and deal with the main problems. So this is what did you feel? What were the real issues that you want to talk about? Be specific. Don't say, generally this, generally that. No, be specific and ask what you feel you would like from your spouse. So these are some just guidelines, right? And once you have this discussion, the goal is to arrive at a solution that both of you can agree on, right? So, okay, this is what we will do. Do we both agree to this? Are we okay? Or are there other options we need to think about? How it's going to affect us, our family, our children, so on. And okay, once we've agreed, who's going to do what, right? How are we going to arrive at carrying this out? And you begin to work on it, and you review. How will you review progress? Maybe we'll meet again after a couple of weeks or after a month and see how we are doing, right? So even that discussion should be done in a very proper way. Initially, like I said, you may need the help of a pastor or a counselor. Later on, you'll be able to do it together in a very mature way. You can talk about these things. Okay, let's do it like this. And then you resolve the matter in peace. You pray. The goal is to have peace in your relationship, and you've spoken about the problem, and now you want to make sure that everything is in peace. And this is where you ask for forgiveness if you've done anything wrong. You give and receive forgiveness. Number 6, where if you've been wronged or you've done something wrong, you take responsibility. You say, okay, I should not have said that. I should not have thought like that. I should not have accused you of that. You say sorry for the wrong you've done. You ask for forgiveness, and you also give forgiveness. If the other person has done something wrong to you, you say, okay, it's forgiven. I'm never going to bring this matter up again. It's over. It's done. And finally, number 7 is we pray and release blessing. So, we love each other, we bless each other, we're going to be strong together, right? So you bless each other, you release a blessing on each other, and you speak blessings on each other. So finally, it's important that we make every effort to keep strife out of your life, right? If we allow strife to come in, it can become a big issue. Strife becomes an entry point to all kinds of evil, right? So the devil uses this strife to pull the husband and wife apart and to come in and to cause a lot of problems in the marriage. So the goal is let's resolve conflicts and let's keep strife out of our life. And in our own experience, I'm just talking about Amy and me, we had to learn how to do this. It did not happen easily, and both of us, of course, have our own way of thinking, our own thought process. We've come from different backgrounds. We are from different cultures. How we look at things is very different. So in the early years, we had our difficulties in trying to, work out same solutions. But what I'm noticing is, now it is so easy. It's just like a flow together. It's like a river just flowing together, right? So in the beginning, we had our difficulties. We was like, why, it was almost like, why is the other person thinking like this? Why can't they think like the way I'm thinking? That was in those early days. But now it's like, oh, we are different, but we can have very nice conversations. We can talk about things. We can discuss things and appreciate each other's ideas. And our differences have become a plus point, not a minus point, right? Our differences are making things so much more meaningful because we're able to see things from in different perspectives, and then learn to agree to all right, this is what we will do. This is how we will flow. So now it's become, even though we are still different people, we are able to just flow together and understand each other. So it takes time, right, to learn how to resolve conflicts and to come to a place of maturity where there are disagreements, there are differences, but we know how to work it through. We know how to have a very peaceful conversation, how to discuss our ideas, and very peacefully just move together, right? So we need to work towards it, right? And this is a skill. This is something we can learn. It takes time, but we can learn, and we can be in that place where the husband and wife are a team, and they just flow together. Right? They have learned over time. Okay, this is what makes my spouse happy. This is how they work, and so this is how we should work together. Over time, they have learned, and now they're able to practice it, and it just becomes a flow together. Right? So, in your marriage, this is something really important to work towards. To becoming a team, you need to learn to resolve your differences, your disagreements, conflicts, and to resolve it in a very biblical way, in a loving way. And over time, it'll get better. The same thing we have to do when we are ministering to people in a church congregation. In a church, there will be many families who come with problems, and you help them go through this thing. Just teach them how to practice these 7 steps. So you need to do this. And there's a problem, just follow these steps. Pause, pray, let God deal with your heart, ask God for wisdom, have a very peaceful discussion, forgive and receive and release forgiveness and release a blessing. Just go through these steps. This is what you do as mature adults, and then it will become just a normal way for them to relate to each other. Okay, so let me pause here and just open some time for questions or discussions before we close. Any questions? Any thoughts? Any things to discuss? Okay. All right. So
I have a
yes,
question,
please. Yes.
Okay. There are instances where conflict has come, but there are some actions that have already happened that may seem a bit difficult for one of the spouses to change. I'm thinking about, for example, where there is involvement of extramarital affairs somewhere, and especially the man may not be willing to take the action. Yes, we have talked, we have prayed, we have done all those things, but some of the consequences that are already there, maybe there is a child who has been born outside there. How do you move forward to encourage people to take the necessary, and what are the necessary actions? Sometimes they are a bit hard to decide.
True. Yes. So, as Amangi has shared, there will be situations, where serious things have happened, and it's not easy. It's not easy, right? So, we have to, follow the Bible and then help people, apply that in that context. So, let's look at this particular example. Let's say there's been unfaithfulness. The husband has been unfaithful. There's been an extramarital affair. Even example, a child has been born outside of this marriage. This is a very difficult situation. Very difficult. And so we have to be very understanding of how the wife is feeling. We also have to hold the husband accountable, right? So it's a very difficult situation. So first of all, where is the husband in all of this? Meaning, is he truly repentant? Does he understand what he has done and how it has affected the wife? If he's not repentant, if he feels, oh, I didn't, this, and he makes excuses, many times he might blame the wife for what he did. Because she was like this, I went and did this. Because it was of her, this happened. That is the wrong thing to do. Because that means he's not taking responsibility for the wrong he has done, and he's not understanding how his action has affected his wife. And also we need to understand what was happening in their marriage that caused all of this, right? And also, can this be resolved? And a lot depends on the wife. Is she able to forgive? Is she in a position where she's, she may be willing to forgive, but is she in a position to accept this man, the husband, back? So this we cannot force. Now, there are situations, and I've seen both kinds of situations where there has been a situation of unfaithfulness. The wife was totally shaken. Now, there was no child born, but just an incident. He had an affair and all that. The wife found out. She was totally shaken. But it was one incident, and God gave her the grace to forgive. accept the husband back. And since that time, which now has been more than, I think, more than 10, 15 years ago, things have been fine. That means she forgave, husband truly repented, and the marriage was restored. And today they have a wonderful family, children, everything. They are serving God. Fine. So that is one case. But on the other hand, there are also instances where the husband was unfaithful, but the wife wanted the husband back. But the husband was just going his own way. And I told her, see, we can't force the husband to come back. He's making a choice. He's doing like this. And no matter how much, the wife tried, he just didn't. And that marriage, just ended. The children had to go through it, So, and then there are, of course, the cases where the wife says, I cannot take this anymore. What the husband has done is wrong. It's the end. I will end the marriage here. So we have to work with each couple, find out where they are, help them through that. In some cases, okay, there is restoration, healing. And in some cases, it doesn't happen. And the marriage ends. And they go their separate ways. And, sometimes one or both of them may remarry or whatever. But, so we can't always have a happy resolution to some of these situations. Yeah.
Thank you. That is well answered.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? Okay, so let's pause for today. We will continue with our next lesson next week. And I think in about 2 weeks, we should be done with this course. And then, we will have one final exam, which is just a review. It's an open book, open Bible exam. So it's not, you don't have to memorize the book. That's not the point. But the point is, I just want you to know, okay, this is what the Bible teaches about marriage and family. And, the book can be kept as a reference. So you know which chapters to go to refer in the future, as and when you need it. So the exam will be more of an overview of this book, and for you to just recall things that we have learned. It will be an open book, open Bible exam online. And with that, we will complete the course. So I think we will have 2 more days of lectures, 4 more hours. I think we should, 4 or 5 hours, we should finish. Okay. God bless you. I'll see you again next week. Thank you.